Hey friends, so I am grabbing all of my stuff to get ready to go to my 6-week postpartum visit with a baby. I will officially be 6 weeks on Saturday, which is also my 34th birthday. I'm a day before Halloween baby, so I'm really excited to celebrate that. I'm excited to get cleared. I've been feeling really good, so I don't anticipate the doctors would have any concern. But I will update you once that appointment's over. And I wanted to take today to tell you guys a little bit about why we chose the name Elim for our baby boy and where it comes from in the Bible and just kind of how God convicted me with that. So let me grab my stuff. If you have any kind of infants, kids at all, you remember this phase where you're taking out an entire circus when you leave the house. So I thought it'd be fun to show all the things I have to lay out on my table. I've got my boppy. This is a little bit of a crutch for me because I don't know, I don't feel fully comfortable nursing without it yet. So I'm gonna take it. I kind of pop it in the stroller and I'm gonna nurse the baby when we get there. And I've got a blanket that I always put over it to kind of catch any milk. I've got a whole slew of diapers, wipes. I've got spare change of clothes in my bag that I'm gonna put in here. And then I've got, keys, can't forget those. Let's see, my husband made some homemade banana bread, so I'm taking that on the go so I won't be late. And a banana, can't have too much fruit. And an apple. This is my breakfast. I'm gonna run out the door with the baby right now. And on the way, let's chat a little bit about his name and where it came from. Oh, I hear you waking up, mister. You hang on till we get to the doctor's office. Mommy will feed you there. All right, so we are on our way. Gotta buckle up, okay? Just pulling out of the driveway. And we have got to head over to where I delivered the baby. All right, guys, so I am back from the doctors and I got a absolute clean bill of health. I'm so excited. I can go into the weekend. Everything's good to celebrate my 34th birthday. So now that I'm back, I figured I would chat for just a little bit about how we came up with our baby's name for anybody that's curious. And just the thought behind it that God gave me when I felt the inspiration for his name. It is a very unique name. I had never heard it spoken out loud before I chose it. When I go to name my kids, every time I have always asked God for very clear direction on their names. And I know a name is just a name, right? We hear the Shakespeare quote, "A rose by any other name would smell as sweet." But I also feel a name can have such meaning and guidance for a child's life if you want it to. It can be almost like a prayer over your child. And so for me, I want my name to be very purposeful when I name my children. And for each one of our kids, a lot of thought and prayer went into their names. So for me, with this fourth baby, I had been reading in the Bible and had no inspiration whatsoever. I felt like a lot of the normal biblical names were just kind of overused. And if you run in any church circles, you're gonna meet like 20, Mark, John, Matthew, Luke, all of the basic stuff. So anyways, I was reading in the Old Testament. If you're not familiar with the Bible, the Old Testament is really the story of God's people and how he set apart a people for himself throughout that part of history that would basically become the lineage with which he would bring his son, Jesus Christ, into the world. And these people, they messed up. They were not perfect. Even though they were set apart for God and his purposes, they messed up a lot. And just because something is set apart doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, doesn't mean it's always going to work out. But the cool thing is, no matter what, God doesn't go back on his promise. So he made a promise through Abraham and his faithfulness that he was going to bless these people, the Israelites, and this nation, and through that lineage would come his son, Jesus Christ. And he never went back on the promise. Even though his people were rebellious, even though they messed up, and he had to call them back to himself time and time again,
and they often had sinful and hardened hearts, he kept bringing them back to himself. So a great example of this is in Exodus. Most people, even if they're not familiar with the Bible, have heard the story of Moses and the 10 Commandments and how God called Moses to lead his people out of Egypt. So the Israelites had become enslaved under Pharaoh and his regime. And even though Pharaoh originally tried to kill Hebrew babies, if you didn't know that part of history, he tried to have them like slaughtered. It's a terrible thing. It didn't work. God still had his people keep multiplying. And in Egypt, the Israelites were becoming like more numerous than the Egyptians, but it was Pharaoh's main slave labor force. And so he didn't want to let the people go. And Moses goes through all of these things, right? He's called out by God to go to Pharaoh, approach him. They go through the 10 plagues, and the Israelites have witnessed all of this. They see these plagues happen to the Egyptians. They see Moses wielding the power of God to get them free. And then finally they make it to the desert. Finally, Pharaoh lets them go after the last plague, which is the death of the firstborn. So he loses his firstborn son and he lets them go. But after they're gone, he has a change of heart and he says, I made a mistake. I want to bring them all back. He's just let go his entire labor force and he's thinking, I let him off too easy. So he takes all his chariots, all his warriors, the greatest strength of his army in pursuit of these Israelites fleeing in the desert with Moses. And you've got women, children, elderly, weak people too, because right, they've been slave labor. They've been worked hard by the Egyptians. They're not traveling too fast. And they come across this giant obstacle, the Red Sea. It looks like they're gonna perish. And then this is one of those well-known miracles of the Bible. Moses sticks his staff in the waters part. The Israelites are able to cross the Red Sea safely. And then when Pharaoh and his armies try to pursue, all of the waters come crashing down on Pharaoh. Let's take a water break. Even post-pregnancy, I am still so thirsty all the time. It's gotta be the nursing. So, and that's where we kind of pick up in the Bible with these people have just witnessed an incredible miracle. God has delivered them out of the hands of Pharaoh. They have just seen an entire army crushed. I mean, talk about, people want to see God work and move. They have seen it. They have incredible evidence. And then they head into the desert. All right. The desert's not a very fun place to be. You get hungry, you get thirsty. And so in Exodus 15, I was reading through all of that amazing account, and you get to Exodus 15, and there's this little passage called, it's literally titled, Complaining in the Desert. Okay, they've just witnessed everything. How many times do we witness some amazing feat of God in our life, but time passes and we forget? Or even maybe not that much time has passed. In this, it has literally just happened and they're already complaining again. So I'm gonna read to you guys this little section because this is where the inspiration for my son's name came from. It says, the waters of Mara and Elim. I pronounce his name Elim, so maybe that's how you say it. I don't know. Verse 22, this is Exodus 15:22. Then Moses led Israel from the Red Sea. They literally have just left this amazing miracle. And they went into the desert of Shur. S-H-U-R is how that's spelled. For 3 days they traveled in the desert without finding water. Okay, so 3 days have gone by. They're a little thirsty at this point. They're starting to feel a little upset. They're complaining, okay? When they came to Mara, they could not drink its water because it was bitter. That is why the place is called Mara. So Mara means bitter. So the people grumbled against Moses. They're complaining now, saying, what are we to drink? Then Moses cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. He threw it into the water, and the water became sweet. There the Lord made a decree and a law for them, and there he tested them. He said, if you listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God and do what is right in his eyes, if you pay attention to all his commands and keep all his decrees, I will not bring on you any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians. So he provides for them, but he also kind of gives them a command here, like, you need to keep my decrees, you need to listen and follow me, and if you do that, it's not going to turn out like it did for the Egyptians for you guys. For I am the Lord who heals you. That's how that ends. And then you reach verse 27, and I read this, and guys, I could not pass this. I kept coming back to it, and God gave me this name. There's no way around it. It says, then they came to Elim, where there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees, and they camped there near the water. So God has just provided water for them. Their thirst has been met. They were complaining, grumbling. Moses threw the piece of wood into the water. Now the water is able to be drank, and they are content, right? But in addition to that, these people that have complained, they do not deserve any more, really. If we were to kind of sum up what they should get right now, I mean, how many of us, when our children, at night I fix them dinner and I try and put some healthy things in front of them, try and put some veggies, maybe it takes a while to cook, and I set it in front of them, and my son especially, he grumbles and complains and says, I hate carrots and I don't want to eat this. And how many of us, when that happens, think, I want to just heap rewards on you right now. I want you to have more than you deserve. Usually, I'll be honest, my spirit is not that generous. I'm a little more frustrated and saying, you're going to eat it. Too bad. But instead, right here, Elim literally means an oasis in the desert. So God's people did not deserve this kindness, and they had already been provided for, but he goes above and beyond, and he gives them this further blessing of a place with 70 palm trees. So now they have shade, and they have water, 12 springs of water, not just a little bit of water, 12 springs of water. And this is where they camp, near the water. And so when I just saw this, I was just kind of stuck on this verse and how beautiful this is. My daughter's right here with me. What, honey? She needed her juice. So we're in lunchtime right now. But I just thought this was such a beautiful picture of how God provides for us. And then I think it spoke to me personally, because Elim is my fourth baby. And I've said on my other video about my birth stories, my first baby, I love my son. He's 9 years old now, but his birth was so difficult, and it was this C-section that was just so hard, and just a lot of complications with it. And then God redeemed that with my birth of my second child, and how beautiful her birth was, and also coming out of this being my second marriage, and all the pain I had gone through with divorce and loss, and my story is out there if you want to see that on another video. But God redeemed that. And then I went through the death of my sister also around that time, and our family has had a lot of pain and grief from that. And God has even redeemed that in ways which doesn't replace her, but he's helped a lot of people through her story and our family's nonprofit. And so, there's just been redemption after redemption, and things that I don't deserve, because I am a sinner, and I absolutely have things that I have struggled with. I've struggled with the anger, the sin of my words. I've been very open about all of that on my channel. And God keeps heaping this beautiful provision on me. But then now with this fourth baby, and just finding out it's a boy, and just the blessing of it all, and how well the birth went, his name makes more sense to me than ever, that God has just provided an oasis in probably the last couple years that have felt like a desert to a lot of people through COVID, with people losing people, and just the struggles that everyone has faced this past year. And I have no idea what your struggles have been, but this has just been a beautiful reminder for me to embrace the oasis that God is providing here. And some of it has been to stop busyness, stop other activity, and just rest in the shade of the palm trees and the springs of water that is the life given through a new baby, and the reminder to just stop busyness. So that's where his name comes from, Elim. It is an oasis in the desert, and I don't know, maybe he can bring some encouragement to you guys through the scripture that brought me his name. And I just wanted to share that with you all. And I don't know, just hopefully it touches your heart like it did mine. So thank you guys for watching. I'm so excited to be back on this channel, and I have another video coming out soon. I'll see you guys soon. So I just gotta take a moment. Anybody else have a toddler in the background smushing their mac and cheese all over the table? You film. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. And then also, just so you all don't take me too seriously, I love God's word. I love all of that. Take that seriously. But this mama, just so you know, I got the party going on top, but the pajama pants on the bottom. That's the way I roll in newborn life. Anyways, thank you guys for watching on my channel, Life and Lilacs. Don't forget to take a little laugh at your everyday life. Bye, you guys.